So, by the way, when I do the herd hierarchy, as Goulet knows, I used to work at another place. Thankfully don't. And they would do a top 10 list every week. And it was just basically all the undefeated teams were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm like, those aren't the best teams. There's no context to it. Sometimes you get scheduling. So a lot of times teams will win. I'll move them down. Who'd you beat? How'd you beat them? Teams will lose, and I don't move them down. It's like, well, they lost an overtime game. So mine's not based on anything other than, like, when I watch them play, I kind of go, would this team beat that team, beat that team, beat that team? So with that, I present the herd hierarchy.
Herd hierarchy.
Time is now. Let's go.
The top 10 NFL teams according to Colin. Number 10.
I moved the Raiders down after a win. If it wasn't for a bobble, they lose to the Chargers. Listen, they've won 3 of their last 4 games on the road. There's something to them. They beat Kansas City 13 straight games with 300-plus yards. Derek Carr, top 5 completion percentage. I like them. I think there's a way for them to win. I don't think they're good enough defensively, and I think as we get into Thanksgiving and beyond, defense becomes a much bigger deal. They're a good football team. I think there's a ceiling with them. I've seen them get rolled by Buffalo and Tampa at home. But I like them. I don't love them, but I like them. I thought if not for a bobble, they lose this past weekend. And, it's like Mark Schlereth said, when they do a little bully ball on offense, control it, they can win. But I see some cracks here, and I thought they were a little bit lucky this weekend. I think the Dolphins would beat the Raiders this morning if they played. I think their head coach is great. They've got 2 defensive touchdowns the last 2 weeks. That leads the NFL. I think they have a better defense than the Raiders. I think similarly they'll be very efficient at quarterback. I think they play as hard as anybody in the league. I mean, from special teams to defense, they got a lot of different ways they can score and beat you. I just like what Miami's doing. And I think if they played the Raiders over the next month, I think they'd give them fits. To go to Arizona and win that game in Tua's second start blew me away. Miami 9. But I think they would lose to Tampa Bay. Let's not go crazy on Tampa Bay. Tampa would beat Miami because of their experience at quarterback. Tampa's got a reality now. They're really inconsistent, and they're a wild card team. And they're 0-2 against the Saints. That's their reality. Now, their defense has forced the most turnovers in the NFL and is tied for the most interceptions. But even their defense has been inconsistent. On their good days, they can beat anybody, and on their bad days, they're embarrassing. That's why I put them at number 8. But I think the Seahawks would beat Tampa because despite what I saw in Buffalo, Seattle had won their last 10 East Coast road trips. Here's Seattle's issue. They're bad against mobile quarterbacks, and Brady's not mobile. I think they'd beat Tampa. First team in NFL history to score and allow 23 points in 9 consecutive games. So their games are all shootouts. The Seahawks don't play a normal game, ever. All their games are whack. All of them. They're all crazy. Their defense has allowed 3 different quarterbacks to throw for 400-plus yards this year. It's all the mobile guys. But I do think with Carlos Dunlap on the defensive line and Jamal Adams, they will get better defensively. I think this game this week was weird. They had 2 big divisional rivals, the Niners and the Rams this week, and it was a sandwich game out east, and they played awful. But I think if they played Tampa, that has a pocket quarterback, they would win. But I think Buffalo would beat Seattle. How do I know? Because I just watched them. Buffalo's 2 teams. When John Brown is playing and healthy at wide receiver, they are a handful. When he's not, they're not as dangerous offensively. Josh Allen's playing well. They're on a 3-game winning streak. Let's be fair. They've only lost 2 games, Chiefs and Titans. They're good. I like their coach. The quarterback is good when he's got his full arsenal of people. That includes John Brown. Their defense isn't great, but again, I think good coaches elevate what you are. So if you're average defensively, can you be at least situationally okay on defense? I think Buffalo can. I could put the Saints number 1 after this weekend, so I don't want to overreact, but they are in a 5-game winning streak. I thought their defense finally showed up. They have Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas back. And this is a big Vegas thing. Second best yardage differential in the NFL. So they've outgained their opponents by almost 650 yards. Vegas loves that. Basically, when you go into games, you win the yardage. If you do that over the course of a season, you win 10, 12 games. And right now they're a number 1 seed. So I don't want to overreact to it, but I love what I saw from their defense. I thought it was like, okay, and let's be honest about it. They've been all beat up at wide receiver for a month, so now they're healthy. It's a different looking team. But listen, here's my thing with Green Bay. I know what they are on their good days. I know what they are on their bad days. But they usually have good days. So I think they're going to win 13 games. I think they're going to be the number 1 or 2 seed. I think Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams right now are the most lethal quarterback-wide receiver combo in the league. I love Aaron Jones. There's so much I like about this team. I just don't think they're good in a phone booth. But I think a couple of the teams they don't match up well with are like Baltimore, Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Oh, they're in the AFC. So I think a lot of the teams in the NFC, they do match up. I think they match up with the Saints fine. I think they match up with Seattle fine. So the teams I don't love how they match up with, the Niners are all beat up, and the other ones are in the AFC. Ravens. It's funny. Everybody's telling the Ravens stuff. I want to read you 2 things. 31 straight games they scored over 20 points. It's the longest streak in the league. And you're all telling me how bad their offense is. And 21 consecutive games they've had a takeaway. That's the longest streak in the NFL. We got to slow down on Baltimore. They give you 27 points a week minimum, and they take the ball away from you. Lamar was 10 for 10 against the Colts in the second half. They're not perfect offensively when throwing the ball, but they're fine. They lost to the Steelers by a play on a turnover-plagued afternoon. I still think Baltimore is one of the 4 best teams, 3 best teams in the league. Steelers, they drive me nuts, but they have the most sacks, multiple touchdown passes for Big Ben. Everybody's close. They're too emotional for me. But I will say this. Just got a bunch of good players. They draft them well. They develop them. I've been critical of Mike Tomlin before. Sunday's why. That's why I stayed away from that bet. Everybody's like, you got to take the Steelers. No way am I taking the Steelers as a 2-touchdown favorite. But I will say this. There's only one great team in this league. Everybody else we can argue over. You're 8-0, I'll put you at 2. I think they're their own category. Head coach, A+. Quarterback, A+. Weapons, A+. Defense, A-, Kansas City. There's nothing not to like. They play well from behind. They play well with a lead. They had a little bit of a hiccup in a shootout to the Raiders. I really like what they're doing with Mahomes. The average NFL quarterback throws 35 times a game. He's now throwing 30. So they're building a running game. They're protecting him. There's just nothing I don't like about them. That is, it's funny. The last 20 years we had a dynasty that was efficient but kind of boring. They're the opposite. They can be efficient, but they're big play. I don't see a weakness. Once they start playing defense, injuries, that's it. Cheetah gets hurt. Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. Travis Kelce, it's a problem. Right now, best team in the league. And then there's 9 other good teams that probably on their best day couldn't beat them. There you go.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.